Hey, what's up everybody, the Crap Gamer here, the most compelling game-related YouTuber, and you damn well know it, also the king of all game-related media, and you knew that as well, back with another video, my particular brand of in-your-face, kind of opinionated, asshole if you will, opinion. So, a little bit more to the point was, I was thinking about something, and sometimes I'll just have these epiphanies, and this epiphany I thought was just too good to not talk about. I was sitting there, I was driving home, I was like, damn, you know what, it was right after I had seen, I was working, so I'd missed the Forza Motorsport 6, launch trailer. I didn't catch the Halo 5 opening cinematic like everybody else did. I had to watch it while I was at work, and then on the drive home, I just had this smile on my face, and I was thinking, holy crap, thank God for Microsoft and the Xbox One this generation, because they're actually the only things between greatness and mediocrity. The Xbox One is saving this generation from mediocrity, in my opinion. And when I say that, it's not something that I mean like, oh, here goes Crap Gamer again, one of his little tangents or rants. It's not exactly about that. This is more about the facts and what Microsoft has done. And as I've said before, we're 33% through with this generation, a third of the way, and Microsoft seems to be the only ones offering up any kind of differences between this gen and last gen. And what I mean by that is, when we're as gamers go into a next generation, you expect certain things, and maybe you expected different things than I did, but what I expected was more than just prettier graphics, because I couldn't really care less about that if the gameplay wasn't evolving, if the AI wasn't better. That's what I wanted. And just look at the Xbox One. I mean, with the Kinect, even though that's kind of a thing that most people, I guess, think is dead or whatever, I use it every day. The Snap feature is something I use every day. The dedicated servers is something that I don't take for granted. We're seeing that take precedent in pretty much every game, Forza, Sunset Overdrive, Halo, and not just for that, it's also being used for cloud computing now, which is something a lot of people scoffed at, but now Microsoft is the only one that can do. We've seen that with Crackdown, we've seen that with Titanfall, we're gonna see that with Halo 5. I mean, it's just the things that they're doing are just not happening on other platforms, We're seeing monthly updates from Microsoft. They're listening to what we want. We're seeing backwards compatibility because they listen to what we want, and they're giving us that. You put your disc in, and it works. If you had something digitally on 360, it just automatically shows up in your queue, and you download it, and it works. Now obviously there's some hitches with that, like places like Activision aren't really too keen on missing out on that buck or two, but to me, Microsoft has at least attempted it and has gotten way further with it than Sony, who was just saying no. Same thing with EA Access. Microsoft has allowed this on their platform, whereas Sony said no, and I think that can't be stressed enough. Microsoft is the one that are giving us interesting and decent things, and Sony is the one saying no, 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 no. Sony said no to Titanfall, Sony said no to EA Access, Sony said no to Sunset Overdrive, Sony said no to backwards compatibility. Instead, they want to charge you to stream games that you already own. Rumble triggers is another thing that goes understated and underappreciated this gen, but when you play a game like Madden, you just realize how fucking cool it is. I think it's amazing. I think it's an awesome feature, and I wish more people would start to use it aside from the first-party developers and things like that. You can stream games to PC or Windows devices if you have a tablet or whatever, and I realize this is something that both Nintendo and, Sony can do to some capacity, but it's not exactly the same, because that's like, a Vita isn't the same as like a big monitor or a big tablet, so I think that there is some differences there, plus all the other things are things that Sony and Nintendo aren't doing. Upload Studio with the green screen effects, everyone's a built-in YouTube star right when they get their Xbox One. I think that's phenomenal, something that neither of these things are doing. They're not going to be able to match that. The HDMI in, you can plug another console in, you can plug whatever you want in. It's going to be a TV DVR next year. I think that, it's just doing a lot of things right, and it's, again, saving this generation from mediocrity, because when I look at the PS4, it's actually the PS3.5. When you look at the Wii U, it's really the Wii.5. I mean, are either of those, and I'm just not talking about power-wise, because there's a lot more to a new generation than power, but are either of those doing anything significantly different than their predecessors? And I don't think they are. And maybe Microsoft hasn't accomplished everything they wanted to, or, and they've failed some places along the way, especially with like maybe the UI, and that's why that's getting overhauled. But I think in the overall grand scheme of things, they were the ones that took the bigger risks this generation, and that's what makes me happiest. I think biggest risk, is them taking risks on AAA exclusives, because last gen with Don Matrick in charge, they weren't really doing that. It was more just the same ones, and so far this gen, they've taken the risk, and I think it's really going to pay off, and especially next year when you have games like Recore and Quantum Break and Scalebound, and then you've already had games like Rise and Sunset Overdrive, so they're not afraid of the new IP, they're not afraid to bring back old IP, hence, know, Killer Instinct and things like that, and it looks like, you know, we might see some more of that along the way. But again, Microsoft is the one, for me, thankfully, that is saving this generation from mediocrity. Otherwise, I'd be so unimpressed with this gen. How are you guys doing with it? I mean, are you guys impressed with this generation? Do you think it sucks? Are you looking to get out? Do you not care? Let me know. Sound off. Comment, rate, subscribe. Rack that shit up. Crap Gamer out.